We have new polling data from the 2020 Democratic primary. The data is good for Joe Biden. It's good for Elizabeth Warren, and it's actually not so good for Bernie Sanders. And I know people are sick of me saying this, but I'm not supporting Joe Biden. I am merely telling you what the polling data says. I did a story earlier this week saying, hey, Biden in his first 24 hours raised more money than anybody else in the 2020 Democratic primary in the first 24 hours. And he did it from fewer donors with a larger average donation. And I got a ton of emails and tweets and comments saying, David, why are you shilling for Joe? I'm just reporting to you what the numbers are, okay? And likewise, I'm reporting to you that we have new polling data that is from after Joe Biden announced that he's running for president, okay? The Morning Consult tracking poll, which surveys 500 registered voters weekly, has Biden up to 36% support since he announced his candidacy. This is among Democratic primary voters nationally. Biden at 36%, Bernie in second place with 22%, and Elizabeth Warren also actually getting a bit of a bump up to 9%. She was in like 3 to 5% in a lot of polls for a while. She's now more into like the 6 to 12 range, depending on which poll you look at. So she's rising. And this is not the best news for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders still very, very strongly in second place. But Bernie had actually been polling as high as the mid to high 20s. He's now down to 22%, and even lower in some recent polls. So he's suffered in the last 7 to 10 days, but still a very solid second place. And there's a very long time to go. Whether you're in first, second, or third place right now, even fourth place, you can make the argument. Still all very well positioned to ultimately take the lead. But you know who this is all really bad for? It's other establishment Democrats. The day that Joe Biden announced last week, I told you, this isn't good for Kamala Harris. This isn't good for Beto O'Rourke. Anybody who is playing the more moderate centrist role in the Democratic primary, it's not good that Biden has announced he is going to consolidate the establishment sort of center-left vote, and it's being borne out to a T. Kamala Harris had been previously polling as high as 15 in February, sort of bounced around between 10 and 13 since then. Kamala Harris is now down to just 8 in a recent Quinnipiac poll, down to 7 in the recent Morning Consult poll. Beto O'Rourke, he had actually been polling as high as 11 in mid to late March. Beto is down to between 4 and 6 in the most recent 4 polls. Biden's announcement has not been good for Beto. And then sort of unaffected by Biden running are a whole bunch of people who are still polling as low as 0 and as high as 2. Andrew Yang got up to 3 in one poll. Recent polls have him at either 1 or 2. Julian Castro is basically at 1% across the board. Tulsi Gabbard actually polled 0 in the last Quinnipiac poll, got a 1% in the last Morning Consult poll. And as I've said before, several months ago, we were at a point where the polling was not yet accurately indicative of who is likely to really be in the running by the time the primaries get going. It was a little early. We're now kind of starting to get into the pre-summer phase, at which point the polls do start to give us a hint as to who's a contender. And we're starting to see this 4-way, maybe 5-way race. Bernie, in descending order, Biden, Bernie, Warren, Buttigieg, and maybe Kamala Harris, if she can consolidate some of that non-Biden sort of establishment centrist support. Doesn't mean things can't change. We're just now starting to see who seems to be completely unable to get traction and who is emerging as this kind of leaderboard. And we'll see by June 1st, I think we're actually going to have a much more solid idea of what it's looking like. Support those who support the David Pakman Show. And today that includes our good friends over at BRD Bitcoin Wallet. These guys are awesome. And the BRD Bitcoin Wallet is absolutely perfect for anybody who's getting into Bitcoin or cryptocurrency for the first time, because it was designed with simplicity and ease of use in mind. But you'll also love it if you have experience with Bitcoin. It's an all-in-one app for iOS and Android that lets you buy Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency using your credit card, lets you store everything on the app for free. You can trade and sell cryptocurrency within the app. And when you use BRD Wallet, you're the only person who has access to your Bitcoin. BRD doesn't store any of your personal information. You don't even have nor do you need a username and password on the platform. It's all within an environment that's virtually impossible to hack, so your cryptocurrency is safe, extremely easy to use. It's how I store my own Bitcoin. I think you'll be impressed with it too. It's the first ever Bitcoin wallet in the iOS App Store, and now they have over 2 million users from more than 170 countries. BRD's mission is to make buying, selling, and storing Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies simpler, more efficient, and more secure. And they've done an awesome job. Check out my interview with Aaron from the BRD team. We had a really interesting discussion about the state of cryptocurrency going forward. You can also download the BRD app for iOS and Android. I've put a link right underneath this video.